Hey everyone! In computer programming or in JavaScript programming, there are two important things which we need to learn. The first one is data and second one is function. And in this section, we are going to talk about data. And in the upcoming section, I'm going to tell you about functions. So let's get started with data. And the fundamental way of creating data in JavaScript is using variables. So I'm going to give you a simple problem. What will be the addition of 3 and 2? And I know this problem is really easy to solve. So we need to understand how our mind is going to process this problem. So obviously, your mind is going to remember the number 3 and 2. It's going to do the addition and it will give the output of 5. Easy one, right? We can do the same thing in JavaScript also. I can go back to my Visual Studio Code and I can show you how we can do this in JavaScript. So I'm going to console.log 3 plus 2. And if I save and it will open the console window. So the output of console.log 3 plus 2 is 5. You can see here. There is nothing wrong in doing 3 plus 2 like this. But there are better ways of doing things in JavaScript. The good way would be first store these two numbers into container and then add them and have an output. So how to create variables in JavaScript? And it's really simple. You just need to use a var keyword. You see here, we have a keyword called var and then the name of the variable, like I'm using num1 here. And this will create a container, a storage in the computer memory. Now, initially this num1 is not going to have any value. The initial value will be undefined. Or you can think of the initial value as an empty value. Now let's see how we can create a variable in JavaScript. So again, I'm back in my index.html file. Let's create our first variable. So I'm going to create a variable with the var keyword. I'm going to create the first variable. I'm going to name it num1, then a semicolon. Let's create another variable, say num2, end with a semicolon. And then I'm going to create the third variable called sum and I'm going to use semicolon. So this is the first step. This is how we create the variables. So what's happening behind the scene, for num1, num2 and sum, there are 3 different storage containers has been created in the memory, but they don't have any initial value. So the initial value will be undefined. Now let's assign some value to this variable. Let's put some data into those storage containers. So to do that, it's really simple. I just need to refer the variable name. So this is the name of a variable num1. So I'm referring here. Then we need to use equal sign and I'm going to give it a value of 3. Now how this program is going to run actually. When the script block is going to get executed by the browser, this num1, this variable num1 will get created in the memory with the value of undefined. Then num2 will get created with the value of undefined and same will happen for the sum. Now when this statement or this line of code will execute, JavaScript is going to assign num1 value of 3. So that container of num1 in the memory is going to have a value from undefined to 3. Similarly, I can assign a value to num2. So let's assign a value of 2 here. Now num2 is going to have a value of 2 and next step we are going to use sum and then we are going to put the addition of num1 and num2 into sum. And finally we are going to console.log the addition of num1 and num2 which was stored in sum. And we are going to output the sum here. So now if I save, you see the output of 5. Now this is how we can create variables, we can assign values, and we can do some maths around those variables. But this is a longhand method of defining variables. There is a shorthand way of defining variables, like I have three different variables here, like num1, num2 and sum. I can define all of these three variables together. And how we can do that? So first of all, I'm going to comment this code so that you can refer this code later on. And to comment any of the JavaScript code, we use this syntax. So I'm going to use /* and I'm going to end my comments here. So this is a multi-line comment in JavaScript. So let's first talk about how to make single line comments. So you just need to put 2 forward slashes and then you can write this is a single line comment. So actually you can write whatever text you want to write here. This is just a description of what goes on here. So this is how you can create a single line comment, and this is how you create a multi-line comment. We can create single line comment using /* also. I mean, that's the one way I like, because we can put enter and we can put more text into it. So I'm going to use that. So let me remove this for time being. You can use that comment also. So I'm going to use this comment and I'm going to write variables longhand method, something like this. I'm going to save my program. Comments are like, telling someone about our code. So I'm telling here, like, the way I have defined variable here is a longhand way of defining variables. So as I have commented the code, you don't see the output here. So this code, the commented code, has been ignored by the JavaScript. Now let's see the shorthand method. We are going to convert this similar example into shorthand method. So I'm going to write some comments here. Variables shorthand method. Like here, I have declared 3 different variables with 3 var keywords. I can do that with a single var keyword. So I'm going to use var, then num1, then I'm going to use comma, then num2, then sum. So when you want to define so many variables once, you can use this shorthand method, like variable num1, comma num2 and sum. And next, I did assignment here, like num1 equals to 3 and num2 equals to 2. You can do that at the same time. So I'm going to use equal sign here and I'm going to assign the value also at the same time. So num1 is having a value of num3, num2 is having value of 2. So you see that the shorthand method is so easy and quick, I would say. I'm using var keyword once only. I have declared num1 equals to 3, num2 equals to 2 and sum. Now if I want, I can do the sum here only while declaration. So let me try that. So I'm going to do num1 plus num2, and on the next line, and I'm going to write console log sum. And if I save, you see the output 5. I have converted my longhand method of doing the addition of 2 numbers into a shorthand method. See that? And I'm getting the same output. Next, I would like to talk about changing variable values in a program. I mean, initially, if you see here, num1 was having the value of 3, num2 having value of 2, but I can change these values as the program is running. So I can again refer num1 and I can put new value into it. So this time I'm going to put 10 into it. You see that? Num1 equals to 10. And I'm going to access num2 again and I'm going to put 5 in that. And again, I can do the sum. So I'm going to say num1 plus num2 semicolon. And let's try to log the new value of sum again. So now you're going to see 2 different output here. I'm going to save my program. You see, when the value of num1 is 3 and num2 is 2, we got the output of 5 as we are printing here, console log sum. I can change the variable values, num1 to 10, num2 to 5. Again, I'm doing the sum. So some value is also getting changed, num1 plus num2, and I'm getting the output of 15. So this variable, this container is actually dynamic. It can have different values at different time in the program. Now let's talk about the naming convention about this variable. I mean, you can't just go ahead and name this variable to anything. I mean, maybe if you want to start a variable, you can't just go and name the variable with 1, 2, 3, something like this. You can't create a variable like this. Variable 1, 2, 3 equals to 1, 2, 3. And if you create like this and if you save the program, you're going to get an error, uncaught syntax error, because JavaScript doesn't understand this type of variables. Whenever you're going to define your variable, the first and the most important thing while naming the variable is your variable name shouldn't start with a number. It can start with either $, or underscore, or any letter, small a or a capital A. But it shouldn't start with a number. This is one of the important things you need to remember. And once you have started with $, or underscore, or any alphabet, later you can have any number, any $, underscore, or more alphabet like this, anything you can put. So this is a simple convention you need to remember while creating JavaScript variables. And one more thing, variables in JavaScript are case sensitive. So say suppose I create a variable a and store a value of 1 in it, and then I create another variable capital A, and if I store the value of 1 into it, this a, the small a, and the capital A are two different variables. So the variables which you create in JavaScript are case sensitive. So I'm going to comment here. I'm going to write JavaScript variables are case sensitive. Next, you need to remember you can't create variables using some of the reserved words in JavaScript, like if. This is a reserved word in JavaScript. So you can't store value into if. If I save this, you see uncaught syntax error, unexpected token if. So there are some of the reserved keyword like this keyword var. Var is a keyword in JavaScript. So you can't create var with var. It's going to throw an error. That var is unexpected token. So you need to understand, you need to look for different JavaScript reserved words, and you can't use those reserved words for creating variable name. Say suppose by mistake, you create a variable which is a reserved word. Obviously you are going to get error, and from that error, understanding that, and after understanding that error, you can always go and rename your variables here. So you don't need to memorize all of those reserved words. As you program, as you learn JavaScript, you're going to anyways you're going to learn all those reserved words. So I'm going to remove this, or maybe I'll keep it here and comment it. Whenever you're going to create the variables, like I have created num1, num2, give them the descriptive names. I mean, I have created A and capital A. This is not a good name because, creating variables with X, comma, Y, comma, Z, it doesn't add any meaning to the variable name. So while creating variable, keep in mind, give them meaningful names. So if someone else is reading your program, he should be able to understand what's the meaning of that particular variable. And say suppose you need to create long variables, like I would say I need to create a variable with the name of first name. So in this case, I have two different string. I can say the first and the name. So I can make them, so I can write them like a camel case. This is called a camel case syntax. So the first word, so this variable name actually has two different words. So the first word will start with a small case. Next word will start with a capital letter. So this is how we can define long variable name using something called camel casing. So I'm going to comment it, camel case, and I'm going to put some value here. Say suppose John. And there's one more point, there is no need you should create a variable like first name here, then you can press enter here and you can assign the value in the next line. JavaScript doesn't mind if you put tabs or spaces in your code like this. You can put tabs in your code. Maybe you can press more enter here, and if you save, your program is still going to work. But it's a good idea always to format your code in a right way. But JavaScript doesn't mind if you put a lot of spaces or tabs in your code. So I'm going to undo this. And the last and important point I would like to mention, always use var keyword before defining your variable. See, JavaScript is not a strict language. It doesn't ask you to always write a variable like this. I can go ahead and create a variable without writing a var keyword. So say suppose I can create a last name variable and I'm going to put a value Smith into it. And if I console.log last name, you see I'm getting the output of Smith. JavaScript is not at all complaining about not using a var keyword. So you can think, JavaScript is adding the var keyword automatically by itself, but that's not a good idea. And later in upcoming advanced section, we are going to see why it is important to write var keyword here. So this is all about variables. I have shown you like a longhand method of creating variable, and then a shorthand method of creating variable, then how to assign values, how to log those values. We talked briefly about comments. I can use this // to define a single line comment. I can use /* and // to define multi-line comments. And even we talked briefly about formatting of the code. Then JavaScript variables are case sensitive. When you're defining your variables, you should remember it shouldn't start with a number. We can have variable name, the long variable with names with a camel case. And always remember to have a var keyword before defining your variable. This is a mouthful of information I'm sharing in one video, but I think this is important and this is the fundamental concept to learn JavaScript. Hello! In this video, I'm going to talk about JavaScript data types. And there are 6 different types of data types available in JavaScript. The first one is numeric, string, boolean, null, undefined, and symbol. Out of these 6, we are going to discuss about the first 5. Symbol, maybe we will discuss in another video. And out of this 5, the first 3, numeric, string, boolean, are going to used 80% of time. And null, undefined, I would say 20% of time. So basically, the first 3, numeric, string, boolean, you need to understand very well. So let's jump into the code and start practicing these data types. So I have my index.html open in Visual Studio Code, and you see the output on the right hand side in the browser. I'm going to open the console also just to see if I log anything. So let's start with the numeric data types first. Numeric means numbers. So I can create a variable age, and let's say I'm going to assign a value called 30. So JavaScript is a weakly typed language. If you have learned any other language, you might be knowing like we can create a variable like age I'm creating here, and we can give it a data type. This variable age is going to store only number, something like this. So I'm defining, so this variable is basically data, and this number is this data's data type. But in JavaScript, we don't define the type of the data like in other languages. And the type has been defined by JavaScript based on the value which you assign on the right hand side. So we can't do this, so I'll remove it. So when I define a variable, like I have defined like I have defined a variable age here and I have given it a value of 30. It means age is a numeric data type. Let's define some more variables. Say suppose I can define a salary variable and I'm going to say maybe like 20,000 into it. One more point I would like to add, JavaScript doesn't differentiate between integers and decimals. So I'm going to use, I'm going to create a variable, say balance. Maybe this balance is like account balance. So I can store a value like 2000.89. So in this balance variable, I can either store 2000 or maybe I can add a decimal point and I can add 89. So there is no differentiation between integer and decimals also in JavaScript. You can also have positive and negative numeric values. So I can store in num1 say -5 and JavaScript doesn't mind it. I mean, you can store negative numbers as well as positive numbers into the same variable. And if you're thinking about storage, I mean, I have created 20,000 here in the salary. What if this number is too big, like very big number? So I don't think so. You need to worry about this big number. I mean, JavaScript has a limit to storage, but it's too big. I mean, you don't need to worry about it. You can use as big number as possible, So this is about numbers. Next, let's talk about string. So to create a string data type in JavaScript, again, we start with the var keyword. So say suppose I want to create a variable first name and we define string either using single quotes or I can use double quotes. So let me use single quotes for now. And I'm going to write someone name here like John. I'll create another variable, say last name, and I'm going to give it a value of Smith. So I'm using camel casing for naming my variables here. So you can define strings using single quotes or double quotes, and even you can create a very long string variable also. Like I can write a story. Maybe I can write this is my story, and I can go as long as possible. I can write a long story inside a string variable also. So there is no limit, I would say, of writing a string in the single quotes here. The third and the widely used data type is called Boolean. And Booleans can have only two values. So I'm going to define a variable called lose here. I mean, when you play a game, say suppose you're playing a game, so there might be a variable in a game which will define whether you have lost the game or won the game. So I mean, if you have lost the game, I would say true. So as I said, Boolean can have only two values. You lose. So if you lose, it's true. And if you don't lose, it's false. So we can either have a true value or I can have a false value. So in case of Booleans, we can have only two different values. So let me define one more variable. Say suppose I'll define is adult. If I want to know like if someone is adult or not. So I can say like is adult false or lose true. So there are two different values I can store as a Boolean data type. Now let's talk about occasionally used data types. So this numeric, string, and Boolean, these are widely used data types in JavaScript. And occasionally used, I would say, is called undefined, the first one. And second one is null. So let's talk about them. So let's create a variable, say score. So when I define a variable, like I have defined a score variable, say suppose there is a game going on and in a game we have a score value or a score variable. So initially when I define a score, and if I log it, see that? When we create a variable, JavaScript by default store the value undefined into the variable. That's why the data type of this score will become undefined. So basically, what value you store on the right hand side defines the data type of a variable. So in case of age, on the right hand side we have 30, so data type of age is number. Here we have John, so data type of first name is string. Here true, so data type of Luz is boolean. But in case of score, we don't have any value on the right hand side. So the data type of score is undefined. Similarly, take the example of score only. Say suppose I want to create a score variable, but I don't want to have any value in that. Other than undefined. I just want to make it empty. I just want to have some value which is empty. So in such a case, we can create a variable. Say suppose I want to create a variable, say product. And initially I want product to have some value, not undefined. So I can put a null value in the product. So null, the meaning of null is empty, at least not undefined. So now if I console.log product, you see the value is null. At least it is not undefined. So the data type of product is null. Now JavaScript has one operator called typeUp operator, which we can use to identify the data type of a particular variable. Like this age, we know, I can see here, right? The value is 30, but at runtime, maybe this value of age can change to something else. So how can we identify the data type of a particular variable? We have an operator called typeUp. So I'm going to use typeUp. So first of all, I'm going to create a number variable. So I'm going to start with a simple example. Say I'm going to create a variable a, and I'm going to store a value of 30 into it. Okay. So now, if I want to log the type of a, so I can log console.log, I can use typeUp operator, and I'm asking JavaScript, tell me the type of a. So I can pass a as a value and semicolon, and if I save, you see the typeUp operator is returning the type of a, and I know it is 30, that's a number, so we are getting number. Let's create one more variable, say b. I will be using simple names here, and I'm going to store a value of, say, string only inside this. So string and string, or I would say a inside b. And now I'm going to copy this console.log, or I can type again console.log. I'm asking for type of b. If I save, see that the type of b is string because I'm storing a string value into it. Similarly, we can ask for other types. So I'm going to create a variable c, and I'm going to store a value of true inside it, and I'm going to ask for its type. So type of c, save, see that it's boolean. Similarly, we can do for, I'm going to create a new variable d, but this time I'm not going to assign any value, and I'm going to log once again type of d, tell me the type of d, and now if I save, see that type of d is undefined because I didn't assign any value to d. Last one, I would say, I'm going to create e. I'm going in alphabetical order here, And you shouldn't create your variables like this. Just for the sake of explaining, I'm creating the simple variables, and I'm going to assign null value to e, and I'm going to console.log type of e, and now if I save, you will see something different in the console, and that's not null, it's object. For everything else, for A, this B, C, D, we are getting the actual type, number, string, boolean, and undefined. But for null, I'm not getting null, I'm getting object. So this is one of the popular bug in JavaScript, and you need to remember and you need to memorize it. In case of null, when you ask for a type of, you get the object and not the null. This is one of the weird part of JavaScript, and we are going to discuss these weird parts in the advanced part of this course. So as I said, JavaScript is a weakly typed language. So at one time, variable A can have a value of 30, which is number. So the type of A will be number. Now I'm going to change the value of A. I'm not going to define A again. Let me try to change the value of A from 30 to 30. Now this is not a number, this is string. Even if I'm having a 30 value inside it, this is a string. And let me try to log the type of A this time. Okay, so let's save. See that? Initially, the type of A was number, but as the value on the right hand side has been changed, the data type of A has also changed, and now it is string. So JavaScript is free. You have the freedom, like create a variable. You don't have any restriction. Store number, store boolean, store string, whatever you want to store at any time in the program. But it's always good practice, once you create a variable A and if you assign a number value into it, just keep that container for the number only. Don't just mess up like this. Okay, so this is all about data types in JavaScript. So we discussed about numeric data types, string, boolean, undefined, null, and we have also discussed about type of operator, and we have also seen like how we can change the type of variable. We talked about null bug also in JavaScript, that when you use type of for a null variable, you get the output as object and not null. I'll see you in the next video. Hey everyone, welcome to the first coding challenge of JavaScript Masterclass course. We are going to have a lot of coding challenges in this course, and these coding challenges videos will be divided into two parts. In the first video, I'm going to explain the problem. I'm going to explain the solution steps also. So we have a problem statement and we have solution steps here. And in the second video, I'm going to give you the solution following these steps only. But I highly recommend you try to solve these challenges by yourself. This is really important because practice is the only thing which is going to make your JavaScript perfect. So here is our first problem statement. So we need to dive into the real world application and try to find and create some of the variables. So you need to visit amazon.com, search for iPhone in the search field, scroll down and you will see the list of products. So pick the first iPhone and see if you can convert the information about iPhone into different variables. So maybe I can explain it through browser. So you basically need to open Chrome browser. You need to go to amazon.com and search for iPhone. Then you need to scroll down and pick up this first product. and try to convert all of these strings or numbers, or the things which are given here into variables. So coming back to the problem, so in the step 4 I said like try creating variables around product name, reviews, price, and availability of the product. Yeah, I think this is good. This is our first coding challenge, first problem statement, and I would like to wish you a good luck. Try to find a solution, write down the code by yourself, and if you get a better solution than me, don't forget to post in the comment box. I'll see you in the solution video. Hello, did you get the variables right? Did you understood the problem? I mean, did you try to solve it? If you've tried to solve by yourself, I mean, I really want to appreciate your effort. But if you didn't, or if you have faced any issues, I have a solution for you. So let's jump into the solution directly. So as I said, we have to visit amazon.com, and then we have to search for the iPhone, click on the search button, and then we have to pick the first product. So I'm picking up this one. So let's try to find out some of the variables here. So I mean, this is a really simple exercise, I would say, but I wanted to have such a small, simple coding challenges, just to have some practice about the topics which we have learned in the previous videos. So let's get started. I think this first one, the first variable is really simple. This is like a title of the product. So I can create a variable named product title. So I'll go back to my solution and let's start creating variables here. So I'm going to create our first variable. Maybe I'm going to call it product name, and product name is going to be a string. So I'm going to call it, maybe say iPhone 11. So this is our first variable. Next, I see this is a number, right? So these are actually reviews. So I can go ahead and create one more variable. Say I'm going to call it product reviews, and I'm going to show some number into it like 2300. So this is my second variable. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, this looks like a price. So this is also a number, I would say. So I'm going to create a next variable, say product price, and I'm going to give it a price of 600. And you can name all of these things also. You can create variables out of these strings also. But I want to show one example of Boolean here. So if I scroll down, if you look at this one, Apple iPhone XS, we don't see the price. So I can say, if I click on this product, it will open and you see this is currently unavailable. So I can create a Boolean value out of it. So maybe I can say, I'll create a variable not available is equals to true. So I think we have covered all the different types of variables. I have created product name, which is string, then product reviews, which is number, product price is a number, and not available, which is Boolean, and I'm storing the value of true. If something is available, we can, or maybe not available doesn't look good here. I'm going to change this to is available. Okay, so is available false would indicate that particular product is not available. If it's available, I would say it is true. So did you get your variable name and values? Probably values would be different, but this is how you can create different variables and we can assign values to it. I hope you have enjoyed this really simple solution, but we are going to have some challenging problems also moving ahead. This is the first one, so I thought of keeping short and sweet and simple. So I started with it. Cool. So I'm going to see you in the next video. Hey everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about math. And don't worry, this will be really simple math. We are going to talk about arithmetic operators, and these operators will be like really simple operators which we have used in our school days. So let's get started. Okay, so as usual, I have my index.html open and the file is running in the browser using the live server, and I have the console window open because we are going to log some of the output in the console window. So programming requires math, and to do that math, we have a bunch of operators in JavaScript. So we have already seen one of the operator, like when I create a variable, say I'm going to create a variable name this time, and let me assign a name value John Smith. So we have already seen one operator called this equals operator. So when we define a variable and say suppose I don't assign any value here, the value of this name variable is undefined. But if I want to assign any value, I just need to use an equal sign, and then whatever goes on right side is going to get stored into this particular variable. That's the functionality of this equal sign. It assigns the right hand side value into the left hand side variable, I would say. So we do have a bunch of other mathematical operators, or I would say standard math operators. So we are going to talk about those standard math operators now. And they're really simple actually. So you know about those operators. You might be knowing about those operators already. So let's start with our first operator, which is addition. So I'm going to define two different numbers here, num1, and I'm going to give it a value of say 4. Then I'm going to define num2, I'll give it a value of 3. And then I'm going to define a sum variable, like how the standard practice to have addition of two numbers. Then I can say sum equals to num1 plus num2. So this plus operator is actually addition operator. It is going to add num1 and num2 together, and it is going to store the output in the sum variable. So let me log this console.log, and I'm going to ask for output of sum. So we see the output as 7 here. So really simple. Similarly, now I'm going to comment this console.log. We have let me rename this sum to maybe output. That would look good. So I'm going to use this output here. The next one is a subtraction, and I'm going to do the subtraction here. So I'm going to write num1 minus num2, really easy. And then I'm going to look for the output. So I'm just doing subtraction between num1 and num2, and I'm logging the output in the console window. You see the output as 1 because 4 minus 3 is 1. So we know about subtraction now. Next one is multiplication. Let's do the multiplication. That will be really simple. Num1 into num2, and I'm going to log the output once again. Before that, I'm going to comment this one just not to confuse here, and I would ask for the output. Save. You see the output as 12 because 4 into 3 is 12. And the last one, the easy one, is division. And again, I'm going to use output num1 divided by num2. And I'm going to comment this one, console log, go to copy and paste this one here. I mean to say console, save, you see the output. So this is quite, it came in a decimal point actually. Yeah, so 4 divided by 3 is 1.33333. So you see some of the standard math operators we have in JavaScript, because we need to do addition in programming, subtraction, multiplication and division. These are some of the important operators. There is one more. We call it a modulus operator, and I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to say num1 output equals to num1 modulus of num2, and copy this one from here, and I'm going to paste. And if I save, so basically this modulus operator, it returns the remainder of the division. That's why we use this modulus operator. So when you want remainder of a division operation, you can use this modulus operator. So like 4 divided by 3, so we get remainder as 1. Now let's talk about the operator precedence. What is operator precedence? So say suppose I have a long expression maybe. So maybe I'm going to create a variable, say, so I'm going to use output only. And in the output, maybe we can have an expression like this, 3 plus 5 into 4. So this is a bit complex, right? I mean, we are having two different operators here. One is addition, one is a subtraction. So what will be the output of this particular statement, right? So because we have two operators, which operator is going to take the precedence, or what is going to happen first? Whether 3 plus 5 is going to happen, or 5 into 4 is going to happen. So we know this is a standard precedence only. In JavaScript also, like what we learned in our school, multiplication is going to happen first. So I'm going to write it down, the precedence here. So multiplication and division gets the first preference out of these 4 operators, and then subtraction or addition will happen. So the output of this would be 5 into 4 is 20 plus 3 is 23. Let's log it. See that? It's 23. But say suppose you want to take over this precedence of operator. You want forcefully 3 plus 5 to happen first. How can we do that? To do that, we can use something called brackets, these round brackets. So now I'm telling JavaScript, don't do 5 into 4 first. First you do 3 plus 5, and then you do whatever is the output of 5 plus 3 into 4. So in this case, what's going to happen? 5 plus 3 is 8, and then 8 is going to get multiplied with 4, and we'll get the output as 32. See that? So this is how, we can modify the precedence of operator using the round brackets. Okay, so next let's talk about some of the shorthand maths operators we have. I mean, it's a combination of these standard operators only. So say suppose I have a variable count and its value is 1. Now, if I'm writing this statement, count is equals to count plus 1. So basically I'm repeating my count here. So this is like a longhand method of adding 1, or maybe any number. Say suppose I want to add 5 here, adding any number to same variable. So instead of using this one, I have something called a shorthand method, which I can use, plus equals to 5. So I don't need to repeat this count again. So I'm saying count, take the count, which is 1, and add plus to it and assign the output back to count. So now if I console log this one, see that the output is 6. And you can do this with any operator. You can do something like this. Maybe you can try minus equals to 2, or you can try count multiply equals to 3, and you can go ahead and try divide equals to 1 or maybe 2, something like this. So this applies to this plus equals to minus equals to star equals to. So this applies to all the standard mathematical operators. Next, we are going to talk about one more, and the last one is unary operators. So say suppose I define a variable beer, and initially the value of beer is 1. Now you drank one more beer. So I can write something like this, maybe beer plus equals to 1. There's one more way by which I can increment the value of beer. So I can say beer plus plus. So this will increment the value of beer by 1. There's one catch here. It will always add 1 to this particular variable. So now let's try to console.log this value. And save. See that? Initially the value of beer was 1. I said beer plus plus. I got 2. Similarly, we can use minus minus also. So say suppose I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to say minus minus, and then again I'm going to console.log the beer value. See, initially it was 2. I said beer minus minus, so it is basically saying beer equals to beer minus 1. I got the output as 1 here. So I'm going to comment all of this console log. Next we have another unary operator. So I'm going to use this. So I'm going to create a different variable for that. Let's create a variable, say juice. So I'm going to have initial value of juice as 1. Now I can say something like this, plus plus juice. Okay. So this is also, another way of incrementing the value of juice. So now if I console.log juice, and if I save, see that we got the output as 2, because initial value was 1 and 1 has been added into juice, and we got the output of 2. We can do the same thing with minus minus also. But you might be wondering, right? Both are doing the same thing. This plus plus is adding 1, and this plus plus juice, this is also adding 1. Then why we have two different operators, right? But there is a difference. There is a catch I want to tell you. So let's come back to, before that I'm going to comment this one. So let's come back to this beer example. So we have beer equals to 1. Now I'm going to console.log here only, just after defining this value, and I'm going to console.log this beer plus plus here. So what do you think? What will be the output of this console.log statement? Will it be 1 or 2? Can you guess the output? I know you must be thinking the output will be 2, because beer plus plus will be 1 plus 1, 2, and output will be 2. Now I'm going to save it, and surprise, the output is 1. So when we have this plus plus after the variable, what's happening, when I'm giving it to console log, it is taking the initial value first and then it is incrementing the value. So when we have plus plus after the variable name, this is called a post increment operator. Means the initial value, which is 1, is going to get used in the program first, and then that value is going to get updated with 1. And if I try the similar thing with this one, or maybe I can use this console.log. So I'm going to just cut this one from here and I'm going to paste it here. Now what do you think? What will happen here? You got 1 and we have plus plus before the juice. In this case, the output will be 2, because in this case, the increment happens first and then the value gets logged. So this is the difference between the postfix, this one, and the prefix operator, or I would say this is a reverse unary operator. So I think we have covered a lot in this video. I just want to summarize once again. So we talked about basic standard math operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division here. And we talked briefly about modulus operator also, which returns the remainder of the division operation. We talked about operator precedence, where multiplication and division gets precedence over minus and plus, or subtraction and addition. But if you want to override that, you can use the brackets, the curly brackets. We have seen like shorthand method of using the plus, minus, multiply and divide. And we talked about unary operators like this plus plus, minus minus, and prefix and postfix version of those operators. Okay, cool. So I'm going to see you in the next video. Hello, how was the challenge? Were you able to solve it? Did you face any difficulty? Did you get the formula on the Google? I think this is a really simple problem statement. So let's solve it together. So we are going to follow the steps. So I'm going to create a variable. So first we need to create a variable, say input value. I'm going to use input value and I'm going to assign it some value. Say suppose I want to convert 20 degrees Celsius into Fahrenheit. So this is my input value. Next, I'm going to create one more variable. So why not use the shorthand method? So I'm going to create another variable directly after this one. So I'm going to give it a name of output value. I'm going to use the full name actually. Here I have used the short names. And we are not going to have any value in the output value for now. So it will be by default undefined. Now next we need to have a formula which will convert Celsius value into Fahrenheit. So I'm going to store that value into output value. So we are going to take input value, and this input value we need to convert into Fahrenheit. So this is our degree Celsius value. I need to convert into degree Fahrenheit. So we can go to Google, and we can search for the formula of degree Celsius to Fahrenheit. And this is a formula. Basically, we take the degree Celsius value, we multiply it by 9, and then we divide it by 5, and then we add 32. Okay, so I'm going to use this formula. So we know like our input value, this 20 degrees Celsius, we need to take that one. We need to multiply that by 9. Okay, then we need to divide it by 5. And all of this I'm going to put into round brackets so that, this value should have the precedence. I'm going to override the precedence of the operators, and then we need to add 32. And finally, we are going to console.log our output value. And let's test on the Google first. So I'm going to adjust a bit here. Okay, so let me try to enter 20 here. You see the output, it is 68. This similar output our program should give it to us. So I'll come back here. I'll open the console and let's save the program. See that? We got the right output because we have used the right formula. Let's try with some more variation. Maybe I'll give some negative values, maybe -20. We got the output of -4 in this case. And if we check it on Google, here also the output is coming -4. So you see here, I mean, this Google program of converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, this is doing the same thing what we are trying here. This is how, all of these programs are written, and this program has been written in JavaScript actually. So you're getting the idea, like how we can write such simple programs in JavaScript, and this is really nice. This is really motivating, I would say. So I highly appreciate if you do all of this coding challenges by yourself. And anyways, I'm here to give you the solution in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this challenge. So I'm going to see you in the next video. Hello, welcome back. Time for one more coding challenge. I'll quickly go through the problem statement here. So this is going to be really simple program. So you need to write a program to convert the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. I mean, for example, say suppose we have a variable with a value of 20 degrees Celsius. And if I input that 20 degrees Celsius, it should return me 68 Fahrenheit. So I have given the solution steps here. So you need to create an input value variable first and assign a Celsius value to it. This will be our step 1. Then create out value variable. This will be our output, or you can name it whatever you want. I just use some of the names here. Step 3 will be use Celsius to Fahrenheit formula. So you can check the formula online on Google, like how you can convert any input value, which is like a Celsius value to Fahrenheit. So there is some formula which you can use. And then finally, you need to print the output value to the console. So we already know like how to create variables. In the last video, we have seen like how to do mathematical calculations also. I mean, we know some maths, how to do math in JavaScript. So I want you to apply all of that knowledge in this coding challenge and see like how much you remember. So good luck. I'll see you in the solution. Hey everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about numbers and strings. And basically, we are going to talk about addition operator once again. But this time, we are not going to do simple math. We are not going to add numbers. We are going to add strings. And this addition is a funny operator, I would say. It can be used for adding numbers. It can be used for adding strings. And because of that, so this addition operator, this can create all sort of possibilities, but problems as well. So we are going to understand all those problems also. And this video is going to be really important. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my script block. I'm going to create 2 different variables here. So I'll start with string variables only. As we are going to talk about addition of strings, I'm going to create first name, and let's start with our standard John. And another variable, say last name, and I'm going to give it a value of Smith. Now I can use addition operator for doing addition of numbers as well as string. So I'm going to create one more variable, say name, or I will call it full name to be specific, Now I can add first name and last name. And now you must be wondering, we do addition of numbers, right? How can we do addition of strings? But in JavaScript or any other programming language, we can use this addition operator, for doing the addition of numbers as well as addition of strings, or maybe with booleans and other data types also we can try. So now if I try to log the output of my full name, see that? So it's basically taking all of the characters inside the first name string and then the characters inside last name string, and it's concatenating all those characters together and producing the output here. Now we have a problem here. We don't have a space in between John and Smith, and I can do that using another addition operator, and in between I'm going to put some space. So you see that? I'm using 3 different strings here, and if I save, now we see the spacing between John and Smith. Now I know when I'm adding strings like first name and last name, both are strings, so I'm getting the output of string here, which is John Smith. What will happen if I add string with a number? Now this is some of the interesting things I wanted to show you. So I'm going to create a new variable called, maybe I can call it age, and I'll give it a value of 20. Now if I try to console.log full name plus age, what do you think? What will be the output of this statement? Any guess? Like what will happen when I add full name with the age? Like full name will be John Smith. Do you think some kind of addition will happen and we'll get the output in the form of number? So I'm going to save it and see that I got the output of John Smith 20. So you just need to remember a simple rule of thumb. Whenever we are going to add string with anything else, be it a number, be it boolean, or be it anything else, it's going to get converted into string and the string concatenation is going to happen. So I'll give you one example. I'm going to add a boolean value here. Say suppose I'm adding say suppose I can add true value directly here. So what will happen? See that? We got John Smith 20 true. So whenever there is a string, whatever comes after it or before it, even if I have this full name, not here, maybe not here, but after this true value, see that? It's string concatenation only. So all the numbers, all the boolean values are going to get converted into string when we add with the string. Simple rule. But this is not the case. This will not be the case with the other operators, like take the example of subtraction, right? So say suppose I say full name minus 20. So here I am trying to do string minus number, right? So let's try that. See the output? We got nan. Nan means not a number. So in this case, JavaScript is trying to convert this full name into number, which it's not able to. That's why, it cannot subtract 20 from full name. That's why it is saying I can't produce the output. So that's why JavaScript is saying I can't produce the output. So I'm giving it not a number because JavaScript didn't come up with any number value. That's why it's giving the output nan. Same thing can happen with multiplication and division also. See that? The division also. Now let's see what happens with booleans, right? So I'm going to write booleans here. Let's try to add a number, say suppose 1 plus a truthy value, the true value. So I'm directly trying to add 1 with true. What do you think? What will be the output of this statement? Any guess? Think about it. So I'm going to save it. See that? We got the output and the output is 2. And how come it is 2, right? So we already have 1 and we are adding it with a true. But true has a value of 1 in JavaScript. So true is getting converted into number. This is something funny happening, these are the funny parts of JavaScript, I would say, or weird parts of JavaScript. So true is getting converted into 1 and it is getting added into 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Say suppose I try with false. Can you guess what will be the output? I think you can guess this time. I'm going to save it. It's 1. Why it is 1? Because false has a number value of 0. So 1 plus 0 is 1. See that? So you just need to remember about the string, whenever we add strings, string concatenation happen when we add string with any truthy value, any boolean value or any number, string concatenation is going to happen. Number and booleans are going to get converted into strings. This doesn't work with division, multiplication or subtraction. And we have seen like what happens in case of boolean. So true has a value of 1 and false has a value of 0. Hey everyone, programming is all about making decisions. We have to make a lot of decisions in real life. Similarly, we have to make decisions in programming also. Like take the example of real world. Say suppose it's raining outside. You're going to carry an umbrella. Say suppose you plan for a movie and you don't get the tickets. You plan to go somewhere else, right? Or maybe you go to Amazon.com, you search for a product, and if that product is not available, the search is going to return unavailability of that particular product, right? So in this video, we are going to talk about conditional statements and logic. So you see I have my index.html open and it's running in live server in the browser on the right hand side. Let's get started with making decisions. So to make a decision in JavaScript, we write something called if-else block. So the syntax goes like this. I need to write if statement, then 2 round brackets, then the curly brackets. So these round brackets, this is where I have to make a decision. This is the area where we make decisions in JavaScript. And then we have something called else block. So the condition which we have written inside this round bracket, say suppose that condition is true, JavaScript is going to execute these statements inside this block. And if the condition is false, it's going to execute these statements inside the else block. So let's make a simple decision. We can start with the real world example only. So I'm going to create a variable, say raining, and say suppose raining is true. It is raining outside right now, and I'm going to write one condition here. So I'm going to use my raining variable and I'm going to check for if raining is equals to true. I'm going to console log it's raining, please carry umbrella. Get that? So I have declared a variable called raining. I've set its initial value to true and I'm checking a condition. This double equals to is called a equality operator. So I'm checking for if raining equals to true. please execute this statement. And there is a difference between this equal sign and this double equal sign. So keep in mind. So let's save the program. See that? As raining is equals to true and this condition has been executed, it has returned me a true value. I'm getting it's raining, please carry umbrella. Let me log something in the else part. So I'm going to log console.log. It's sunny. You're good. Something like that. So now I'm going to change raining to false. So now the value of raining has been changed from true to false. So this condition raining equals to true is going to return me false because it's not raining anymore. Because raining has a value of false, this condition is going to fail. So it will execute the else block. So if I save my program, see that? It's sunny, you're good. So this double equal, we call it as a logical operator. This equal sign is also one of the operator, but this equal sign we use for assignment. But this double equal, we use it for comparison of two values. We're checking if two values are equal or not. So always remember to write double equal. Somehow you forget to write one of the equal sign, and if you write something like this, now if I save my program, see that? My output got changed. It's raining, but the raining is false. But we are still going into the condition, right? We are showing that it's raining, please carry umbrella. Why it has happened? Because I haven't used double equal sign here. So what's happening, this true is getting assigned to raining. And this is always going to return me a true value. This kind of bug, can happen in your program, and you might wonder what's going on, why my program is not running properly. So always remember, you need to write double equal in case you want to do the comparison. Let's talk about the next operator, which is called not equal to operator. So like we have double equal, where we are checking if something is equal to true or not. Similarly, we can check if something is not equal to true or not. It's similar to, just opposite way of writing this double equals. So I'm going to create one example here. So I'm going to create a variable is product available. And I'm going to assign it a value of true. I'm going to check if is product available is not equals to false. That means I'm checking, because this variable, what this is indicating here, I'm checking is product available. So it's returning me, yes, the product is available. The value is true. True means yes, you can think like this. So I'm checking here if is product available not equals to false. I'm going to tell the customer, hey, it's available, go get it. Something like this. So now if I save, see that? So it's exactly opposite of this not equal to is exactly opposite of the equality operator. And we can have a else condition also if I want, else, and maybe I can log the product is out of stock. So if I change this value to false, see that? The product is out of stock. These are really simple operators, this double equal and not equal. Now let's talk about some of the comparison operators. So we do have some comparison operators in JavaScript, and we are going to talk about it now. So I'm going to write comparison operators. Okay, so let's go to Amazon. I'm going to maximize my browser a bit. Let's visit amazon.com. And I'm going to search for a mobile phone. And if I scroll down, you see this under $50. So say suppose I click on this one, Amazon is going to show me the products whose price is less than $50. So say suppose I want to create such kind of conditions in JavaScript. How can we do that? So to do that, we have comparison operator. So I'm going to create a variable, say price, and I'll start with 50, or maybe I'll have a 25 as a value. Now I can check if price is less than, so we were checking for $50, less than $50, right? So that's what I'm trying to create here. If price is less than 50, I'm going to log, I can use single quotes also, $50 products, or I would say showing $50 products. So if I come back and if I save, see that? Because price is 25 is less than 50. That's why this condition is returning me a true value and this statement is getting executed. Say suppose the price is 50, right? Now if I save, we don't see the showing $50 product. So it's going into the else condition. So let me write the else block also. Else, and I'm going to log showing greater than, would say greater than $50 products. Save. You see that? Because the price is 50. So how can we achieve less than or equals to? So there is one more operator, we can use combination of less than and equals to achieve this condition. So I want to show, because see the product price is 50 and this condition is for under 50. Say suppose I want to convert this condition into under 50 and equals to 50. So we can use combination of less than and equal to sign. And now if I save, see that? It's showing $50 products. Let's go back to Amazon.com and let me maximize a bit. And now if I go down and you see this, right? Now if I click on $600 and above, okay, how we can achieve this condition, right? Using the operators. So we do have an operator for that. I'm going to copy this code only. And I'm going to redefine the price here. So say suppose price is $600. Okay. So now I can reverse this. I can check for greater than and even equals to. So we can see the example together, If the price is, or maybe price I'll keep 640. If the price is greater than or equals to 600, we're showing $600 products. Else we are going to show products under $600 in the else condition, showing under $600 products. So if price is greater than or equals to 600, we are showing $600 products, and if it is not greater than equals to 100, less than 600, we will be showing under $600 products. So this is about greater than equals to and less than equals to operators. So till now we have discussed only about having one condition, but in programming we can have two or more conditions together, right? We might need to take more than one decision together, right? So I'm going to stop this video here only, and we are going to discuss about advanced logic. How to create multiple conditions in the next video. Hey everyone, let's continue our journey of conditional statements and logic. And in this video, we are going to talk about some of the advanced conditional logic. Now, before we move on and talk about advanced condition, I would like to make a small point about the condition which we are writing here inside the if statement. We are not limited to write this conditional statement inside the if block only. We can take it out from here. So I'm going to create one example here. So I'm going to declare a variable, say age, and I'm going to give a value of 18. Okay, and I'm going to create one more variable, say can drink beer. And I'm going to use conditional logic as a part of this statement only. So I'm going to take out this conditional logic from here and I'm going to write it as a separate statement. So I'm going to check value of age, and if age is greater than 18, we can say like the person can drink beer. So you see that I can write conditional statement not inside if block only, but as a separate statement also. So this is going to return me a true value or a false value. So in our case, what's going to happen, age is equals to 18. So 18 is greater than 18. No. So this is going to return me false. So on the next line, I'm going to check this. If can drink beer is equals to true, I am going to console log you are a man. Else I'm going to console log you got up, you need to wait, something like that. Or you can write any statement here. You see that? So I'm checking for can drink beer. If it is equals to true, I'm logging some of the values in the console. Now there is one more point I would like to make here. This statement, this is a longhand method of checking the equality. I can make it short. I can remove this part completely. So I'm going to open the console and I'm going to save. See that? You need to wait. So I don't need to write that equal and then compare with the true, because I know can drink beer value is false. So if it is false, it is automatically going to move into the else block. Or say suppose I change the value of age to 19. See that? You are a man. So now if the can drink beer value is true, we are moving into this statement. So we can write conditional logic as a separate statement. It returns some value which can be a truthy or a falsy value, and we can use that value later to write some logic in our program. Now let's move on and talk about some of the advanced conditional logic. So I'm going to write advanced conditional logic. And we are going to talk about two different operators here. And so I'm going to write and there's one more operator called or operator. So this is and this is or. So we can use and or operators to combine different conditions together. So let's understand this with a simple example, I would say. So I'm going to create a variable, say name equals to, we'll go with our standard John's name, and I'm going to define one more variable, say time. And time I'm going to write as maybe I'll go with 8. So what I'm trying to do here, so I have John and I have time. So I'm going to write a logic where I'm going to check the current time, and if the current time is in particular range, I'm going to find out the location of John. So say suppose time is less than 8, maybe John at home or maybe he's at gym. So I'm going to write that logic. If I'm going to check if time is less than 9, I'll log John is at the gym. This is a simple one, and I'm going to write else condition. And this time I'm going to tell you something new, I mean, we can chain any number of if block after the else. So I can write, if time is less than 9, please log John is at gym. Else I can add one more if condition here. And I can keep moving, adding more if and else condition. So I can keep going. I can write any number of if else conditions here. Get that? I'm going to start small here. So let's have this one only for now. So I'm checking else if I'm going to check for a time, and this time we're going to have two different conditions. So I'm going to check for a time greater than 9, and I'm going to add one more condition. I'm using AND operator here, time less than 12. See that? So I'm checking two different conditions here. Till now we have checked for one condition only. If you see here, now I have added two conditions, right? So I'm checking if time is greater than 9 and time is less than 12, then only console.log. And here I'm going to log John. I need to use double quotes. John is in office. So let's save the program and check what's going on till now. So I'm going to save. See that? John is at gym. Why? Because the time is 8. 8 is less than 9. That's why I'm going into this statement. Now let's change the time to say suppose 10 a.m. I would say if I save, see that? John is in office. Now time is 10 is not less than 9. So this statement is not going to get executed. So it came here. I mean, else if time, that is 10, is greater than 9. Yes, 10 is greater than 9. And 10 is less than 12. So both the conditions are true. That's why it is coming here. Say suppose time is 12. What will happen in this case? In this case, if I save, see that? We are not getting any output because, so what's going on here? Actually 12 is greater than 9. This is true. And 12 is less than 12 is false. So one condition is true and the second condition is false. That's why it is not entering here. So we need to understand how AND works. So when we have true plus true in case of AND, so we have true and true. In that case, we get true. And if we have true and false, we get false. Even if we have false and true, if I reverse this situation, again we get false. And in case of false and false, also we get false. So if any condition is false, so in case of AND, if any condition is false, the output will be false. So any of this condition is false, this statement is not going to get executed. It will move into the another else block. So I'm going to console log here. Maybe John is at home. Save. See that? Now how we can handle this situation, right? Where we need to check for one condition which is true and second condition which is false. And you're in luck. For that we have something called OR operator. So let's create one more example here. So I'm going to add one more if block, and here I'm going to check for the time once again. So I'm going to check if time is greater than 12, and I'm going to add OR condition. Okay, if time is greater than 12, and I'm going to create one more variable is hungry, and I'm going to write true here. So I'm checking for if John is hungry, right? So I kept that value as true. So now if I write that here is hungry, so now the time is 12. So time 12 is not greater than 12. So this condition is going to be false, but is hungry is true, right? So this is, so now my program is going to move into this statement, and I'm going to change it to John is at food court, I would say. So now if I save my program, see that John is at the food court. So let's understand OR, how OR works. So in case of OR, say suppose we have true or true, we get true as the output. If we have true or false, we get true. If we have false or false, or I would say false or true, I'm reversing the situation, we get true, or I have false or false, I'm going to get false. So in case of OR, a small catch is there, I mean, if we have any value as a true value, we need one true value, right? So in case of true and true, we got one true value. That's why output is true. True or false, we have one true. So we are getting the output as true. False, true, again true, and false is going to be false. So out of these two conditions, if one of the condition is true, this statement is going to get executed. And you can combine more statements here. You can use round brackets also. So I'm going to give you one example of round brackets. So I'm wrapping one more condition here. So I'm going to check for one more time, like if time is less than 1. So I'm checking for two different conditions here. So this is one block. You can think of this bracket as an entire one block. So this is going to result to one output. So that output I'm going to compare with the OR condition. So if time is greater than 12 and time is less than 1, I would go with 13 actually, that is 1 p.m. So this will resolve to one output, and then it is going to get compared with this OR is hungry value. So you can make your program as complex as possible. I mean, it depends. It depends. There are times when you need to write a lot of conditions. So in that case, you can use these round brackets and you can combine multiple conditions based on the precedence, right? I mean, which condition should be given the first precedence. You can use round brackets to override the precedence also. Cool. So this is about our advanced conditional logic. I think we learned a lot about conditional statement and logic in last two videos. And I hope you understood how to write conditions and how to make decisions. I'm going to see you in the next video. Hey everyone, in this video, we are going to talk about the ternary operator and switch statement. So let's get started. So we already know how to write if statement. So I have created a simple example of if else statement here. I have declared a variable age, value of 22, and I have declared one more variable can drive, and the value is undefined. I'm checking here age is greater than 16, I'm storing can drive equals to yes. I mean, inside can drive, we are storing the string value of yes, else we are storing no as a value in can drive. But this if statement, it looks a bit lengthy, I would say. I mean, there is one more way, and I'm not saying you shouldn't use if else statements, but there is one more way of writing such kind of conditions, and it looks a bit cleaner, and it could be written in one line as well. So I'm going to show you that example. So we are going to use a ternary operator. So you see here I'm logging the value of can drive. So if I save this program, you see the value of can drive is yes. Forget about this one. We will discuss that later. So now I'm going to use ternary operator, and I'm going to show you the syntax of ternary operator. I'm going to convert this if else statement into a really simple, cleaner statement. This is how we write ternary operator. So I'm going to write can drive equals to. So basically it starts with a condition where, I can check for a condition if age is greater than 16. So I'm checking for the same condition which we have in the if block. So I'm checking for a condition first. So if this condition is true, so it's, it's like question and answer. So I'm asking a question, hey, if age is greater than 16, okay, then you do one thing. You say can drive equals to yes. Get that? So I'm asking a question in terms of a condition here. Then, okay, if age is greater than 16, then do this. Else, we use a colon. Do that. I'm saying can drive equals to no. See that? Simple and clean, and it goes in one line. Let me make it a bit bigger. You see that can drive, I'm asking for a question, and it always starts with a condition. Then if the condition is true, we do this, and if the condition is false, we do this. So now say suppose I comment this one, this console log here, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here on the next line. And if I save this one, see that value is yes. Or maybe we can try changing the age here. Maybe I can say I'll change the value of age here. Actually, I'm going to change it to 15, and if I save, see that it is no, because 15 is less than 16. That's why it's storing the value of no in can drive variable. So there's nothing wrong in using if statement. You can use if statements, you can use ternary operator. It's just a personal choice, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes we use ternary operator, sometimes we use if else block. So it depends. You can use anything, whatever you want. Now let's talk about our next topic, that is switch statement. So if you remember in the last video, we have created this small, conditional logic about John's location. I have written if else, if else. So there are like several if else statement going on here. So in case, you arrive at a situation in your program where you're writing so many if statement, it's a good idea to switch to the switch statement. So let's first understand the syntax of a switch statement, and we are going to use this program later to convert into switch. For now, I'm going to comment this one, and let's understand switch statement syntax first. So obviously switch starts with a switch statement, and we have a code block here. So first of all, I'm going to declare a variable, say suppose product, or I would say product name is equals to, I'll start with maybe orange. I'll keep the value as orange. So now I'm going to check product name. So I'm checking for a product name here, and then we can write multiple cases here. So say suppose first case will be orange, then colon, and we can write some logic here. So I can say oranges are $5, something like this. I can create one more case like banana, and I'm going to log bananas are, maybe I'll go with $3, and I can keep adding all of these products. I can add papayas, and why this product name is coming all the time. Okay, I'm going to copy this console.log and paste it here. Tablet, papayas are maybe, I don't know, $10, right? So you see that, I mean, now how this program is going to work. So I have created a variable called product name equals to orange, and switch, you can think of switch as that switch on your radio, right? You can switch the station or frequency, I would say, and that particular station will play on the radio. Similar, it's very much similar to that. I'm checking for a product name. So if the product name is orange, it's going to execute this statement. If the product name is banana, it's going to execute this statement. If the product name is papayas, it is going to execute this statement. And there's one more important thing which we need to add, is called a break statement, right? So when the product is orange, it should execute this statement, and it should end the flow of the program here. It shouldn't go and print this also. That's why this is really important. You should write the break statement after each case block. And we can have something called a default block also. Maybe, the product name value will not match. In that case, we can have a default case where, I can say product is out of stock, right? So let's see what will be the output of this switch statement. So I'm going to save. See that oranges are $5 because product name is orange. Now I'm going to change the product name to banana, and now if I save, see that bananas are $3. So because of this break statement, it's not going into other cases. Say suppose I forget to write this break statement, I'm going to remove it. I'm going to remove this time and save. See that the product name was banana, so it came into banana condition, and it has logged bananas are $3. Then it continued the execution of next case block where it checked for papayas, but we don't have a break, right? That's why it's executing the papayas product name part also. So that's why it's really important you should write the break statement here. Otherwise, it will consider these two cases as one case. And maybe say suppose I write small b, what will happen? Product is out of stock. So in such a situation, you can write something like this, because we know someone can write banana and banana, small or bigger. So I can have two different cases here. See, one with caps, one with small. Now if I save, see that? So you can imagine if you want to write this particular program, the switch program using if else statement, whenever we have a new product, we need to add another else condition. That's why we use switch statement in such scenarios where we are writing like multiple if else block, it's a good idea to switch to switch statement. So let's try to convert our John's location program into switch statement. So I'm going to write this program using switch statement. So I'm going to use switch block, and here we need to pass true always, because I need to check condition inside my cases. So I'm going to add different case here. So first case will be this one, and let me copy this part at least. I forgot the V. Okay. So first I'm going to check for this condition, time is less than 9. So this will become my first case. Okay. And here I'm going to console log this one. And don't forget to add the break statement. Next condition will be this one. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to add it here, case second condition. I'm going to print this part. And let's pick up the last one. So I'm going to make it a bit simple. Actually, I'm not going to use this long one, but I'll copy this one and I'll create the next case, and I'm going to check for just one. Time is greater than 12. This is my last case, I would say, where I'm going to log John is at food court. And let's have a default condition where we'll say John is at home. Cool. So let's try to test this program. So I'm going to clear, and if I save, see that we got John is at food court, but we also got John is at home because we forgot to write the break statement here. So now if I save, John is at food court because the time is 12 and he's hungry also. And now say suppose I change this value to false, we're getting John is at home because it's going into the default condition. Maybe let me try with 8. See that John is at gym because this first case has been executed. So if you want to write such big logic using switch block, you need to pass this true here because we are checking, because we are having all the conditional logic inside the cases. We don't have a situation where we are checking for the product name. We are not doing any string comparison, right? So in such cases, this is a trick to pass to the value and check for all the cases. So this is about switch block. You can use if else. If your if else blocks are getting bigger, it's a good idea to start using switch statement. I'm going to see you in the next video. Hey everyone, in this video we are going to talk about some of the weird parts of JavaScript, and this is about truthy and falsy values and strict equality operator. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my index.html running in the browser. I'm going to create one variable here, say count, and I'm not going to assign any value to it. So if there is no value, we know JavaScript assign a default value called undefined. Next, I'm going to write one if condition here, and I'm going to check for count. Okay, so if count, I'm going to increment the value of count. Else, I'm going to say, or I'm going to log count is not defined. Okay, and finally I'm going to log one more console.log here, which will log the value of count, I would say. So count and then a comma. So this is one way of logging, I can use comma, string. So it is going to concatenate, this string plus this count value. So now if I see my program, you see that count is not defined, that is true, and count is undefined. It's working fine because I know if something is undefined, it is going to go into the false condition. Now let's try assigning some values. So we know that undefined is a default value in JavaScript, but there is something else. We have null, which automatically adds a empty or a null value, I would say, to a particular variable. And if I save this, it's still working fine. Count is not defined. I know because we can't do anything with the null value. It's like an empty value and count is null. I'm going to change it to blank. I'm just putting empty string in count. I'm going to save it. See that? Count is not defined. Count is a blank string. This is also okay because I can't do anything with count if the value is blank. Now I'm going to assign 0 to count and just look at the output here. I'm going to save the program. See that? It's again saying count is not defined and count is 0. But count is actually a valid value, right? 0 is a valid value. And I can increment 0 by 1. But still, what is happening here? If 0, JavaScript is treating this 0 as a false value and it's going into the else condition. And it is saying count is not defined and count is not getting incremented. You got the problem? You got the weird part of JavaScript, in case of 0, such situation can create bugs in your program, right? And you will be thinking like, what's going on? What's wrong in my program? Count is a valid value, but still my program is not working. So in this case, it's a good idea to always have a second check here. Have an advanced condition, we can write 2 different conditions to have a valid check, I can check if count or count is equals to 0. And now if I save, see that now count is 1 because count is not. It's not going into this else block. It is actually incrementing the value of count and I'm getting the output as 1. So whenever you're dealing with numbers, and that number is going to return a 0 value, I think this is a good way of writing a conditional logic, right? You should always check for the count, but you should add a OR condition. If count is equals to 0, then also increment the count because 0 is a valid number value. Now let's talk about strict equality operator in JavaScript. This is a special operator in JavaScript. So till now, we have used this equality operator, this double equal, but there is one more operator called strict equality operator in JavaScript where we use 3 equal signs. And what is the meaning of that? So for that, I'm going to create a variable, say time. And I'm going to store 12 in it. Now I can check if time is equals to 12. I'll just log it's 12 p.m. something like this. Else I'll log maybe some other time. Okay. So now if I save this, see that I'm getting it's 12 p.m. which is correct, right? Because time 12 is equals to 12. But now I'm going to change this value. I'm going to convert this value, or I'm going to write this value as string. But I'm going to keep the number value inside that string. You see that initially it was number 12. Now I've changed it to string 12. What should happen? Now if I'm going to clear this first. Now if I save my program, you see that it's 12 p.m. String 12 is equals to 12. What's going on here? So JavaScript is actually converting this string 12 to number just to have a numeric comparison. And this is not valid, right? This is a string value, and string value we are comparing with a number. And because of that, our program is showing us a wrong output. Now, how to handle such a situation? To handle such situation, we have a strict equality operator in JavaScript. So instead of using double equal, use triple equal. So it's a good practice, whenever you're doing equality, maybe it is equal, or maybe not equal, use triple equal and not equal as an operator whenever you're doing any type of comparison. Now, if I save the program, you see that some other time. Now the program is working correctly. So why this happens, and what this triple equal operator does. So basically, when we do double equal, JavaScript convert the string to a number. So there is a type conversion which is happening behind the scene, and we are getting this output. But in case of strict equality, JavaScript compare the type of the variable also. Now time has a type of string. So as we are comparing number with a string, this condition is going to be false, and we are going to land in this else condition. So in case of triple equal, it compares the value as well as type. So it starts with a comparison of type, then it compare value. If both are matching, then only we are going to move into the Truthy block. I mean this first block. Otherwise, it will move to the second block, that is else block. So if I save this, you see that. So try to remember these two weird part of JavaScript, when the number is 0, always have this type of condition. This is a good way of handling number values, and this is also a good way of handling, number values, I would say. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Hey everyone, it's time for another challenge. And in this coding challenge, you need to write a program for a bartender who should serve drinks to people of age 18 and older, and when bartender is not on the break. So I have provided solution steps here. So step 1, you need to create 3 different variables here. The first variable will be for storing the age, and age will be like input for this program, and you can assign any value just for testing purpose. You need to create another variable for bartender's break, and it's a Boolean value actually. Either you can assign true or false. So basically it is for whether the bartender is on break or he is actually serving the drink. So you can assign true and false value. You need to create third variable, which is like output for the program, because you're going to check the condition. There are 2 different conditions you need to check here, and based on the output of that condition, you're going to store that output into this third variable. Okay, so you need to write a conditional statement to check if age is greater than or equal to 18 and bartender is not on break. Then you store either yes or no value into the output variable. And in the final step, you're just going to print the output whether drink will be served or not. So I think this is a simple problem. We just learn how to use conditional statement. We have learned how to create advanced conditional statements in the last video. Use that knowledge and solve this problem by yourself. I'm available for the solution in the next video. So all the best. I'll see you in the solution. Hello. How was the program? Was it difficult or easy for you? Did you able to solve it? If you haven't, let's solve this problem together. So I'm going to follow the solution steps only. So create a variable age and assign some value to it. So I'm going to create a variable age and I'm going to assign a value of 19 as my first input. Create another variable. Okay, I need to write a variable here. Create another variable for bartender's break and assign true or false. So I'm going to create a new variable here, is bartender on break. And initially I'm not going to give him a break, so he's not on break, I would say. And I'm going to create a third variable which is for our output, and in the output I'm going to have a value of no as an initial value. Next, let's move on to step 2. I'm going to write a conditional statement here. So I'm going to write if age is greater than or equals to 18, and we need to join it with another condition, and I want both the conditions to be true. Second condition is bartender on break should be equals to false, right? I mean, but if is bartender on break is true, that means we can't serve that means the bartender cannot serve the drink. So initially, I have kept the value as false, so he can serve the drinks. So I'm going to save output will be yes, and here I can say output will be no. So I have written a condition if age is greater than equals to 18 and bartender is on break is equals to false. I'm using triple equal just to make sure type and value matches. And finally, let's output our output. So I'm going to write console.log. Drinks can be served, and I would say output. Okay, so let's see the output. I have created a third variable output here. I mean, you would have written your output directly here, but there are, as I said, there are different ways of writing programs. So even if you feel, if you feel like this output variable is not needed, you can remove it, or probably you can just write the output here only. But I thought of, first collecting it into a variable and then finally printing out here. So I'm going to make it small just to run my program here. So I'm going to save, see that drink can be served, or I would say drinks can be served. Yes, because drinks can be served because bartender is not on break, it's false, and the age is greater than 18. So say suppose bartender goes on break. If I make it true, drinks cannot be served, right? Because I need both of these conditions to be true, right? Or even if it is false and if the age is less than 18, then also drinks cannot be served, right? So I'll revert it back to 19 and keep it false. If I say drinks can be served, yes. So this is really simple program, and you can write it in different ways. This is one way of writing. Maybe you can write in other way. There is nothing right or wrong here. There can be multiple solutions to a single problem. I would like to give you a simple assignment here. Try converting this if else block into ternary statement. Take it as an assignment, try by yourself, see if you can convert this if else block into a ternary statement. And this is it. I'm going to see you in the next video.